We were pleased to see that we were in the top 10% in the nation. Wanted to know where we number 4 or 5. Anyway, and one of our counselors got top 10 in the nation for improvement climate. Talk a little bit about what you see at Springboard and why we're successful.
Sure. So let me start up by saying the ruler does not cause the effect. I can't take credit for anything we do.
Right.
And the shocking part is we do assist facilities in improving. And for Springboard, the shocking part for me and why I'm down here in person is right out of the gate. You guys were substantially higher than the national average. Currently in top 10%. We're seeing variables like the belief that they would be happy staying sober. National comparison versus Springboard, a doubling where people believe they truly can be happy. Now that's a variable I usually have to work with treatment centers on how they can improve that. And yet overall, you're in the top 10%, and that's right out of the gate.
One of our counselors got in the top 10 counselors out of probably 1,000 counselors.
Thousands.
Yeah, and your Trac9 is used now at over 200 centers. So these are pretty good outcomes we have. Would you talk a little bit about what you see in some of our particulars in the analytics that you've looked at?
Sure. Yeah, so one thing I want to tell you is that I would keep that goal. The goal to try to get near number 1, because most of the places, we know what we do has a significant effect when we work with these companies. We know that view rate by therapists increased by 30%. What we found with Springboard is that when we first started working with you, this very high rate of improvement was already there, which means that as we make these subtle changes in training, you're marching right towards that number 1 goal.
I want to say our counselors were very cynical about this program. I'd been looking for over a year on how we can track, outcomes and metrics. And they were cynical. Now they're believers in it.
Yeah.
We've won them all over.
Yeah, it's interesting. The motivation of the staff really makes a difference. When we talk about where you guys do exceptionally well and helping people believe that they can be happy, think about how important that is. If you were to be going on some crash diet,
right,
and you were committed, I'm going to do this, and you were convinced you would hate life, what are your odds of succeeding in that diet?
Very little.
No, of course we know that recovery is obviously a completely different game, but the analogy still applies. If you don't believe, if you think you're marching towards unhappiness, you're not going to be able to sustain it. And most places have difficulty raising it to that level. You're nearly doubling it. And the things that you tell me about, a lot of my counselors that are in recovery, are the things that we tap into to help elevate those levels.
Yes.